Dial-Electro Hero number 12, Sam Humphries writing with Joe Quinones on the art.
Yeah, this is the big finale. It's pretty good. So we have Thunderbolt and Thunder Montez, I think is what his name is. The Superman Red version of Miguel that we've got from the end of the last issue after the Wide Isle kind of put some of them back together. So we got them in the Overvoid wanting to dial Hero on the H dial, and we learn that anything that's dialed on this multiversal dial in here will affect the entire multiverse. So the plan here is everyone will have superpowers, and his motivation seems to be that he'll be able to save his grandfather, because and no one else will ever have to. It's kind of like Batman. It's like, oh, no one else will ever have to die like his parents did. So that's his motivation. This is kind of the thing here for Thunderbolt, in that if everyone's got powers, no one will ever have to die like his grandfather did, because there'll be someone to save him. We have a couple of pages of Summer and Miguel in the void, where the K-hole, I think is what it was called, which was this really creepy grayscale place. It's kind of great, and there's just one little light, which is Summer's, like a physical manifestation of hope. And when they come out of the K-hole, they're changing character, like heroes, constantly. Their form keeps shifting. So when they first come out, they're basically like a Popeye and Mickey Mouse sort of thing. But then Miguel turns into like Robin, and we're talking like Burt Ward, what Robin, calling everyone chum. We got basically a big action sequence here. He's mostly fighting himself, the Superman Red version, and Summer is fighting Thunderbolt, and she grabs him with the Cyan dial and starts dialing it, and he's like, oh, well, what's this gonna do? All it does is transforms you into your inner hero, and I'm already Mr. Thunderbolt. She dials it, and it turns him back into a regular teenaged Robbie Reed, which is obviously his inner hero. And again, through all this, she's still fighting him, stopping him getting to the dial that he's trying to get to get powers back at this point. Changing into different forms. She's like Jean Grey at one point, I'm sure, and there's a few others. But he does reach the dial, and he dials it, and it becomes Thunder Doom. So he's basically Doomsday. It's a lot of fun. But she actually unites all the dials and dials it, and he kind of goes into like an old comic, and it's interesting. He basically goes into like the past, is what it is. It sees his grandfather is like, hey, it's so good to see you, and he's like, I don't recognize you. My Robbie's a kid. I'm calling the authorities, and then he sees the girl reading a comic, and it's Dial-H Hero, and he's on the front, and he's trapped inside the comic, and that's him dealt with. He's trapped inside that comic, and it's kind of fun. But we still have Summer and Miguel trying to figure out how to get home, because they got here through the K-hole and don't really know what they're doing. So Miguel has at this point reabsorbed Thunder, and he's just himself now. But they're like, what do we do? And they think, well, maybe we dial H for Hero, and then they're like, well, no, because that was his plan, so that can't be the thing to do. There must be something to do, and it comes back to the start of this issue and the start of this whole book in a really nice way. Because I talk about that physical manifestation of hope is what got him out of the K-hole, and it talks about how Superman is that hope, and again, this is what that first couple of issues was, that first arc dealing with that for Miguel. And so that's what they do. They dial H for hope on the dial, and they're transported back. And and we see they kind of take a little journey through the multiverse as we go, and they see all these things that Hope's inspired, like all these moments from DC history of hope, and just like one panels of little bits or other, like Barry running in the original Crisis, just running, and because he's got hope that he can fix it. And we see Jor-El and Lara putting Kal-El in the ship, being, and just having hope that he'll make it. And it's the idea that that this is their fight. This has reverberated through all of history, and that's why there is so much hope in the DC universe, is because of this. But they get back to the operator, and they're in the Heroverse, and he's like, okay, well, job well done. Let's send you back home. And he's like, well, actually, let's. And they go to Metropolis, and they're back living there. And he gets the number from that guy that he talked to in issue 7 or 8, whenever it was. It might have been earlier than that, actually, when he was convinced he needed the powers to talk to him because he was insecure in himself. But here he's like, who needs superpowers when you got hope? And then realizes he's got a chai tea, and Lombard's going to be pissed. Nice little joke ending. A nice little joke throughout it as well. When they're changing history, they don't want to accidentally wipe David Bowie out from history. So that becomes a little bit of a running gag throughout the rest of the issue, which is kind of fun. It's really solid. Again, it does everything it needs to as a conclusion, ties it really nicely together as a whole 12 issues, not just this second half, with the Hope and the Superman being that defining theme. It's really solid. Art's fantastic again. It's not shifting styles as much this time as it usually is in this book. Different characters, heroes are still drawn in different styles, but it's rarely as overt as it has been throughout the rest of the book's history. There's no big hero introduction pages with the full whole other style for a page or two. That's not in this, which makes sense. But it's really well handled. This is a solid 8.5.